Okay, we're going to continue with our tutorials. We're looking at the tutorials for Agentcore Runtime, and we're in the hosting MCP server folder, and we just went over this hosting MCP server notebook, and now we're going to look at the IAM auth notebook. Now this previous one used Cognito, and when you call Cognito, you need the JWT token, and you get authorized, and you authenticate and get authorized, etc. This particular notebook is going to use IAM. So let's take a look at it and see what it has to offer, and see what's there. Why am I having extra cells here? It's a little bit confusing. So first thing I'm going to do is I cleared my output. Let me see if, let me delete these because I don't know why. Looks like there's two in between each cell. It looks like there's two markdowns, but let's take a look at it. First, let's first install the requirements. Okay, now we did that before with this notebook. There's only one requirements file here. Let's do it again because I have to start up the Juniper notebook instance. So here, notebook kernel is starting, and now we're going to wait for that. It's going to wind up starting the kernel and then installing my packages. Now it's got a force reinstall, so it's going to reinstall everything. Let's see what happens. Okay, now it looks like it's installing, and like I said, what it is installing is MCP, Boto 3, Bedrock Agentcore, and Starter Toolkit. So let's take a look at that and see what's happening. Meanwhile, like I said, in these notebooks, these files get created and they wind up here, and they get run at different times. And so we're just keeping that in mind. I don't know if I could remove those and generate them again, but let's just see what's happening here. Now this, I am getting a pip error on a dependency. It does not take into account all the packages that are installed. The behavior is the source of the following dependency conflicts. Okay, and it mentions the instrumentation package is incompatible. There's things that are incompatible. And like I said, I'm not going to worry about this now. What we found out is that when we finally run and launch, we're doing some, the container does have some open telemetry in the file, so it is trying to give us some observability. And I'm going to ignore that for now, but we could revisit it at a later time. So all of these this is an error, and it's telling us what the error is, and it has to do with the open telemetry, and basically there's some incompatibilities here. But you have Bedrock, which is incompatible. We're not even using Nova, so I'm a little bit confused about why this is happening here, but let's ignore it. Okay, and now we're going to come to this cell block, and this is going to import the runtime from the starter toolkit. So we need that because we have to instantiate the runtime, and we need a session. So we use the Amazon Python SDK Boto 3 for this session. So let's just run this real quick. And once again, we get some other dependency warning. Request URL lib3 or this package here does not match supported version. Once again, I'm going to leave it there because that I don't think that interferes with me yet. Okay, now I'm going to run this cell here. So up here, I imported the runtime and the session so I could use it. Now over here, we instantiate a session. We define a region in the session. We create a client for Bedrock Agentcore control in a region, and this gives me control to control the Agentcore runtime parameters or configuration. And if I want to use this to do something in that sense, I could do it. Let's keep our eye on this control client, and then we create a parameter store client, and we got a tool name. We have a tool called MCP server IAM. Let's run that. Now this next cell is going to create a file called MCP server. So this is where things get a little interesting. Here I'm in a different notebook, and I'm generating this MPC server file. Let's see, and it has tools, add numbers, multiply numbers, greet user, and what it does is it instantiates it imports fast MCP. It instantiates it, and it defines a stateless HTTP, which is true, and it instantiates and it defines this MCP object. Now we have tools. We have annotated the tools. Now notice where the tools come from. Where do the tools come from? That is kind of strange because you've got to import the tools to use them. We've imported runtime and session, and we didn't import the tools. Yet we're using this annotation. Why is that? Why is that? I think it's possible because we're using the toolkit, the runtime Agentcore toolkit. We're not using strands at this point, so it goes without saying that we could use this these tools annotations, and they must. Oh, it's an MCP tool, so it's coming from the MCP. So that's good that we realize that. So notice that annotation is different. It's not at tool, it's at MCP tool. And the reason why it has to do that is because MCP has to know it's an MCP tool, so it could discover it and list the tools and do all types of things. And basically, that's the value of MCP. Okay, so now we run it with a streamable HTTP. And let's run this. And it wrote the MCP server Python code. Now, let's write another file, which is the client. So we're going to use a client and a server. Let's run this. And this is writing this file. This is a client. It's a main program. It uses this URL on localhost. And it basically defines an asynchronous client with the URL, passes in the headers, has a timeout, terminate on close, false, and basically it has read stream, write stream, and whatever this thing is here, which we should find out what it is, but let's see when we use it. Okay, so here we have a client session, async with client session. The main program is running this stuff, and the client session has a read stream and a write stream. It initializes the session, and then it lists the tools. So here you get the tool result. And notice it's talking to this URL. And we have the available tools, and we run this thing, and it wrote the file. Now, it wrote the file, and so now what we're going to do is run this cell. And this cell, when I run it, it's going to look at the required files, which is the server and the requirements. And so it's going to run this server using this requirements in my Docker container, right? So keep that in mind. And let's see, what else? So basically what we do is we create a runtime, an Agentcore runtime, and we configure the runtime. We put the entry point to be MCP server. And so this is going to run in the container on Agentcore and AWS. And basically we have create execution role true, create ECR true, requirements file is this file, protocol is MCP, tool name, what is the tool name? And it prints the configuration. So here we generated a Docker file, which is up here. We overwritten it. We generated it with the first notebook. Now we're generating it with the second notebook. We have an MCP server Agentcore, a default agent, changing default agent to this MCP server IAM, and we have the Agentcore configured by this file here. And let's see, we have an entry point, which is this file, this server file that we created. And we have the Bedrock Agentcore name, which is MCP server. And we configure the agent. This is the agent. So let's see what we have. We have We have the region set, all required files found. Now, once again, we're launching the MPC server. Okay, let's go back to the the server again, just to see what this thing looks like. This is the server. Even though there's simple functions in here, there's simple functions that are very simple. It's annotated with MCP tool so that we could discover those functions, and we could the agent and the LLM could determine which tool should be called based on the query. So just keep that in mind. Let's see, where were we? Okay, now we're going to launch the server. Let's do it. Now, here we're going to do the agent runtime launch. So what exactly is going on here? We got this Docker file. Let's see if anything is different in here. I think this thing has changed. But it's pointing to a container. It's defining a working directory. It's defining an environment. It's copying the requirements file. It's doing a pip install on the requirements. This is all going to happen within the container, right? And then it's going to install this open telemetry package, which gives you some observability. I don't know too much about it at the moment. I think the thing is that it does run it when it runs the code and launches it, but it is giving me some errors and warnings, incompatibilities, but I don't want to really be concerned with this right now. Let me see, I'm in the West region. Docker container 1, Bedrock Agentcore user add. Users Bedrock Agentcore, exposing some ports. Copy the entire project. Respecting the Docker ignore. We should take a look at that for the moment. And then it's doing a command. And the command is Python run this code. And it's instrumenting it so we could look at some observability later, which I'm not as concerned with right now. Now, just quickly, let's go to Docker ignore. It's going to ignore a bunch of things, including the virtual environments, the testing, anything that has logs or VS Code, or that's cool. And then, like I said, there's this thing here, which has the default agent name in it. It has the agents, the name, information about the entry point. This is the entry point. What else do we have here? Protocol is MCP. Then we do we have some code build information here, some authorization information here. What is this? This might be for Cognito. Some oh, it has both the configurations in here. It looks that way. This is the IAM. Has my Amazon account in here. It took this from my credential file. It's defining the protocol, the agent ID, the agent ARN. Notice the agent is in running an Agentcore. Code build. Okay, let me just see agent ARN. I'm looking at this agent ARM because this one has runtime MCP server IAM. The previous notebook we looked at was using this one here. Which is also running on Amazon. So we just took a look at this file, and like I said, it's running, it's working. I'm not going to worry too much about it. So let me launch this guy. I'm going to run the cell. I'm launching the MCP server to the Agentcore Runtime. So what's happening here? Code build's running. Launching the MCP server to Agentcore Runtime. The ECR registry is being used here. This is the pointer to it. Getting the execution role for the agent and using the West region and my Amazon account ID. The role name is this. Notice we have our hands full here just trying to figure out what's going on. We're not in any position to automate any of this right now. This project is doing it for us, and so we just want to learn the technology. So my goal is to keep this project working, and if I were to create a new project, I'd try to do the same thing and use this template code. Okay, so we have the execution role. Execution role available, preparing the code build project, getting and creating the code build execution, role name, reusing the code build execution role, using .docker with 44 patterns. We have the code build project name here, and then we have some. We're starting the code build here. We started, completed, provisioning. We downloaded the source where our build started. It completed. We're doing a post build. Complete is started, completed. Code build completed. Code build project saved. Deploying to Bedrock Agentcore. Now, we have an identifier for the MCP server. Observability is enabled. It's configuring transaction search. I don't really care what that means right now because I do want to look at that, but I want to make sure I understand the fundamentals of implementing agent-based systems. And then we have Xtrace. It's configured. There's an indexing role configured. Transaction search already fully configured. GenAI observability dashboard is created. There's a link to it. Polling the endpoint to be ready. Agent endpoint deployed successfully. Built with code build. Deployed to cloud. Gives me the image. Logs are available. Launch is completed. Agent ARN is this, and agent ID is this. Okay, so going back to our images, this is what we just did. We took our Docker file and used used ECR registry and code build to build it, and we have our runtime with our agent and our runtime endpoint. And this is Agentcore Runtime. Okay, going back. So our goal was to create this, but it's in the Docker file and it's being deployed and it's running here. But this gave us the ability to configure everything and define our tools and define our Agentcore identity configuration. So let's try to get back to that. Let me just execute this. This is going to get the parameters out of the parameter store. No, this is putting the parameters in the parameter store. So ARN stored in parameter store, configuration stored. Our agent ARN is here. Now we're going to generate some client code, and this is the client remote. Okay, and let's just take a quick look at this. First of all, let me run it real quick. We generated this file. And here it's showing us that we're creating this streamable transport using SIG v4. We have the MCP URL. We have the service name, and we have the region. And now we're going to get credentials. Yeah, so this is getting the credentials and putting them here. So let's see what this produced real quick. It produced the client. So looking at this code, right, this file's a little bit lengthy, but there are some functions here. And the functions are configuring the logger, create a streamable HTTP transport using SIG-v4, creating a session, getting the credentials. I'm curious to see what these credentials are. And create and return a custom transport. Now here, return the transport with it's using the MCP URL, the credentials, the service name, and the region. Now, this function gets to tools. So we're going to take a look at that. It should be the same as last demo that we did. It should be displaying the same, and there is a difference. Let's just quickly look at this. Tools, it's getting the tools, and the main is now let's test it. It's basically going to run the main, right? And so what should happen here? We're getting a session, we're getting a region, we're getting the parameters out of the parameter store, we're getting the credentials out of the secret manager. Initializing the session, and we're listing the tools here. Where is the IAM? So the bottom line is that let's go back to this here. The bottom line here is return to custom transport with the signing capability with the credentials. Those are the credentials in the secret manager. So let's run this thing and see what happens here. Now this is testing. This is running the MCP client remote Python script, and we could look at that in a minute. It's the code above this cell, but let's just see what we have here. Okay, it found my credentials in my credentials file. Okay, so this code did not use the secret manager because it took my credentials out of my local file system. Okay, so let's see what else it did. Okay, so with my credentials off my Mac, this thing can talk to Amazon on my Amazon account, could talk to Bedrock and other things, and Agentcore, etc. So that's very interesting, because I think the previous demo instantiated Cognito user pool and got the client secrets and everything and put them in the secret manager, and then later on pulled them and used that, used Cognito to authenticate into Amazon. Okay, so it found out the tools. It discovered that we have 3 tools: multiplying numbers, adding 2 numbers, and greeting a user. Why did it have? Why did it get this failed thing here? Let me just ignore it. Now I'm gonna it basically went and got the tool information and showing it to us, and it's a stateless protocol, so I don't really need it until I run something else. Let's see this. This is invoked MCP tools. Okay, so this thing, I'm gonna run this thing, and once again, this creates a streamable transport. Yeah, so this is kind of strange, but this is invoking the MCP tools. So what I'm trying to understand here is that the IAM is being used somewhere. So where I know it's being used inside. The agent is talking to tools. Maybe it doesn't need. It might need IAM. If the client's talking to AWS, it's using my credentials. In some sense, it's using IAM. So there's these 2 layers that introduce a little bit of complexity, but as long as it works, we try not to worry about it. So let me see if I run this. I just created this file. Now this is, instead of just finding the tools, this is actually using the tool. So basically, in one use case, it was one cell was actually finding the tools. This thing is actually using the tools. So it prints testing the tools, and it's doing some things here. And now let me run this. It's testing this. Okay, so it's using my credentials, it's using West Region, it's initializing the session, it's using this streamable HTTP, it's negotiating the protocol version. So the session is initialized, it's listing the available tools, it's saying not found. Why is it saying not found? Because I believe the agent, let's see. It's saying disconnected. Let me run it again. It's adding two numbers together, 5 and 3, it gets 8. So multiplying 4 and 7, it's getting 28. And it's telling Alice, hi Alice. Alice said hello, and they're saying, hello Alice, nice to meet you. So the testing is complete. Session terminated. Now, the thing that's a little bit confusing here is the listing of the tools. Which, what I'm thinking is, I don't have the authority to look at the tools and access them directly. The agent probably has ability to access them and use the LLM model and interrogate them. So that's all I could think of here. Let me try to run it again just in case. Yes, so let's go back to the images here. Invoke. Okay, so we have some tools here in our MCP server. Is listing these tools, and Agentcore identity configuration is used to figure out who can invoke these tools. And to be quite honest, in reality, usually there's an agent. The agent can invoke the tools. One agent can invoke the tools, another agent will not invoke the tools. You could run in two different runtimes. You could use the same runtime. You'd have multiple agents talking to each other. So there's a bunch of permissioning that is a little bit confusing. Now let's try to summarize what has happened here. I use IAM credentials. My credentials were used from this app to invoke the endpoint. The agent, I believe the agent is using IAM roles to invoke the tools in this MPC server in the Agentcore Runtime. And that's why this application, my credentials, can't access the tools directly, but it could access the endpoint, and the agent running could access the tool, the Agentcore Runtime, which is running the agent, which is using the LLM, and there's these tools are accessible. So let's try to understand why this makes sense. And I think I could do that by going back to this model. This model used Cognito. So my client it had to set up Cognito, use the pool and everything, and get the information. So Cognito was set up, the user pool was set up, the client ID has access to the Cognito. The client ID has access to Cognito, and the user pool has has a user in it, and we have established that. So now the server itself, we're using a Cognito config with the client ID. So that one, the client has the client ID, and it's getting the JWT token from Cognito before it calls MCP or the AWS, and that's why it has the discovery URL and stuff like that. So now the agent, the runtime, has the auth config information. Now, this code here is just showing me the Docker file and the configuration file, and showing me what the app endpoint is here. This is telling me where the agent is, right? So the agent ARN winds up being where? Okay, the container is in the registry. We're running the container. The question is the agent in the container, right? There's a role for the agent. So the agent created this thing. And this is the agent endpoint. And this is the agent ARN. So the reason why I'm going through this is because there's an important difference between these two examples, these two notebooks. One, Amazon Cognito is being used to communicate with the server. The other one, IAM, is being used to communicate with the server. And so that's the difference. If you look, you look at these images, you say, okay, we're creating a Docker file. Okay, we're putting the tools in the MP server in the Agentcore runtime. The agent's out here. It looks like it's out here. When this is launched, the Agentcore runtime looks like the agent's over here, and it is. And then when you invoke, the application is invoking the entry point of the server. Now the problem is with this first hosting agent, it was definitely, the demo is definitely hosting the agent on the laptop and also in the Agentcore runtime. But here it's a little bit confusing because I don't know if the diagrams are really telling us the proper picture, and I think it is, but Okay, anyway, that is all I wanted to that is all I wanted to show with this. And so I think to summarize here, we had two notebooks. One was using Cognito to authenticate and talk to the agent. The other one was using IAM because it was using my credentials. Um, and like I said, the biggest confusion a little bit is the architecture. And I think I'm going to assume that these demos that use AWS, it's really using AWS and Agentcore running in AWS and everything else like that. So the agent's always running in Agentcore, etc. But with strands, with this with this hosting agent, we use strands, and strands is capable of running on a laptop and communicating with the models with AWS. So there was a difference here. Anyway, that's all I wanted to show. Thank you very much.